It's August 25th. The year is 2017. I'm standing next to the body of my mother on the top floor of her senior residence. She died about an hour ago. The funeral director should be here any minute, but I guess they're running late. He's about an hour ago he was supposed to be here. I've done everything I can think of to do. I've said my goodbyes. I've taken the photographs of family off the walls. I've taken her cat 3 floors down here at the senior residence. I don't know what else. Then I see there is one last thing. Slowly, I slide the watch off of her wrist. I put it in my pocket. My mother really cared a lot about time. Time meant absolutely everything for her. In fact, being on time meant being a little early. Oh, Vicki, so what if we're here half an hour before the restaurant opens? We can wait an hour for our reservation. We can sit here, we can talk, we can visit, we can people watch. It's no problem. Come on, Vicki, let's go. We've got to get to the theater at least an hour early. I want to be there when the curtain goes up. As much as my mother loved time, she loved the arts. She loved going to the theater. She loved going to see dance performances, whether it was Alvin Ailey or ballet or tap. And she loved music. In fact, in her last career, when she was in her 60s, she was the executive director of a concert series in San Francisco. She was really proud that she was able to take that organization from the red to the black. She said every single time she went into the board of directors meetings, they'd all stand up and give her a standing ovation. But the thing that she loved the most was movies. My mother loved going to the movies. In fact, before Netflix was streaming videos, remember when they used to send out DVDs? She would get 3 or 4 of them at a time, and she would watch them as fast as she could so she could get more of them, and then she would find what were her favorite ones. She'd look them up on IMDb. She'd find, what does the director say? What do the actors say? What do the critics say? She'd do all this research, and then she'd put it together in this newsletter, along with her own opinion. She'd send it out to a couple of friends. That group of people mushroomed to over 100 people. Grace, what movie should I watch? Oh my God. I've had the worst day. You've got to tell me a comedy, something to make me laugh. Do you really think that that director deserved an Oscar? I mean, after all, there were so many better movies that year. My mother loved being the movie maven. At her senior residence, she would invite all the different seniors to come to her apartment, and they'd sit there together in her apartment and watch the movies that she chose. Usually they were pretty obscure or foreign with subtitles. She used to say, I want people's minds to expand past the 4 walls of what they think is possible. A little bit, I guess about 6 years before she died, she went into the hospital with breast cancer. She developed sepsis when she was there. When she came out of the hospital, she was never quite the same. She didn't quite remember how to turn on her computer. What's this for again? As this developed over the next 6 years, her anxiety grew, her dementia grew. It got to a place where in the last couple years of her life, she was calling me 16, 18 times a day. Vicki, I feel like my brain is melting. I feel like I can't control it. Thank you for listening. She had these different moments of time where things would just kind of happen. She would like pressing her remote to watch TV, and she'd call me, Vicki, you've got to help me. I keep trying to start this. My program is going to start any minute now, and it's not working. The remote's not working. And I mean, what time is it? Vicki, what am I doing here in this apartment? I don't know where I am. You've left me here like a sack of laundry. I'm never going to forgive you for this. I'm never going to forgive you. Oh, Vicki, I just woke up from a nap, and I don't know what time it is. I mean, I look at my watch, and it says 6 o'clock. You know, I couldn't remember anybody else's phone call, but I remembered yours, 510-325-0993. So 6 o'clock, but I look outside, I can't see it. Is it morning? Is it evening? Am I late for breakfast? Am I late for dinner? One night, I have a dream. In my dream, I'm standing on a rocky shore at the ocean. It's a wild day and the waves are crashing against the shore. My mother is standing just a couple feet away. I look out at the water and I can see that there are all of these rocks going across the water, leading to a distant shore. I have to take my mother across those rocks. Come on, Mama, we can do this. Come on, let's go. Slowly, I step out onto the first rock. You've got this. Just put your mind to it. You can do this, Mama. I step out onto the next rock. That's it. Just come on. I've got you. I've got you. One of my very first memories of my mom, I'm about 4 years old. I used to have long, curly hair that would get all snarly and tangly. She used to brush it out in the morning. Ow, Mommy, stop. Ow, stop that. That hurts, Mommy. It's almost over, Vicky. Look, let me just sing to you for a minute. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. There, Vicky, your hair looks good, and you're so beautiful. Now, here's what I want you to know. If you decide you want to do something when you grow up, just set your mind to it and do it. One day, she takes me by the hand to the front door of our apartment. She says, Vicky, I want you to go down the elevator. You're going to walk down the street around the block to the butcher shop. Remember where that is? Good. So when you get there, I'm going to give you some money. I want you to buy a pound of hamburger meat. I'm going to stay here because I need to make some marinara sauce for dinner. Would you do that for me? Okay, Mommy. Okay, I can do this. I'm almost grown up, and so I can just do this. I just need to practice. My name is Vicky. I need a pound of hamburger meat. I'm Gracella Joy's daughter. Okay, my name is Vicky. I need a pound of hamburger meat. I'm Gracella Joy's. I get to the butcher shop. It's filled with grown-ups, and the counter is really high. The butcher stands behind it in this white apron, but it's covered with blood. I just practice. My name is Vicky. Hi, my name is Vicky. I need a pound of hamburger meat. I'm Grace Della Gioio's mother. Did you hear that little girl? She's so funny. Oh, so you're Grace Della Gioio's mother. Well, that must be quite a feat, little girl. I take the pound of hamburger meat and I go home and I don't tell anyone because I want to be more like my mother. I just need to set my mind and do things because that's the Baumgold way. The Baumgold way. My grandfather, Jacob Baumgold, escaped from Poland, leaving anti-Semitism behind. He came here at 12 years old, no money in his pocket. He was just determined to make a better life for his family and for himself. And he did. I just set my mind to what I needed to do, and I did it. My Uncle Ted, my mother's older brother, had the same Baumgold attitude. He was a paratrooper during World War II. He used to parachute behind enemy lines to fight with the resistance. But the thing is, he had agoraphobia. I asked him, Uncle Ted, how could you jump out of a plane when you're so terrified of heights? Well, I just, when the OSS came into the room and they asked for people, I looked around. There were no other Jews in the room, so I had to show them Jews can be brave too. My mother had the same Baumgold go-to-itiveness. She'd always wanted to be a dancer. By the time she was 19 years old, she belonged to 3 different professional ballet companies in New York City. One day, Ballet Theater, one of the companies she was part of, asked her if she wanted to come out of the corps de ballet, which is like the chorus line, go way up high on a pedestal where she'd be hidden from the waist down, move her arms around like she was just blessing the dancers below. But the thing is, my mother had agoraphobia too. She was just as afraid of heights as my uncle. Still, on opening night, there she was on the pedestal, curtains open, and she starts moving her arms around, but underneath her legs are saying, please get us back down. At the end of the evening, she thought, okay, I'm never gonna do that again. But the next night, there she was, moving her arms. Very, very graceful. Grace. Grace was her name. And graceful she was. She was so graceful in so many ways. And she was really gracious. What, you don't have anywhere to go for the holidays? Come, stay with us. We have plenty of room. You know, I'd really love to understand, how did you come to that conclusion? I know for me, I don't think that way at all. So would you stay and talk to me a little bit? But most of all, my mother was beautiful. Beauty was her superpower. She had this innate sexual attraction that she used all the time. She could draw men to her like flies. She loved that power. Even when she was 90 years old, she said to me one time, you know your friend, John? If I was 50 years younger, I couldn't know that. One day she and my father were invited to go to the White House for basically a concert and for dinner. But my father was a fairly well-known composer at the time, so this was a very special thing. Anyway, she got herself a beautiful gown, she got her hair done, she got her makeup done, and then she sat in the salon at the White House listening to Pablo Casals. As she listened, she could see that President Kennedy was right in front of her. He kept moving around, sort of squirming. Ah, he has a bad back. I know, I've got one too because of all that dancing. All of a sudden, a cockroach the size of her thumb landed on her lap. She pretended nothing had happened and then went back to listening to the music. Grace. The next day, a gossip columnist in the New York Times wrote, what famous composer's wife had a cockroach jump on her during a White House concert? At the end of the evening, she was walking down the reception line. When she got to President Kennedy, their eyes locked. As she walked away, she could feel his eyes back. At another dinner party, the one where Harry Belafonte happened to be, Harry Belafonte leans over, he says to my father, your wife is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. My father was furious, but my mother loved it. Beauty was her superpower. Plus, it was Harry Belafonte. She loved being in this state. Ah, beauty. It was her identity. Until it wasn't. The year is 1975. My parents have divorced. I'm in my senior year in college. I get a call in the middle of the night. Vicky, your mother's been in a very bad car accident down in North Carolina. You better get there as soon as you can. I begin to pack. My mother was driving with my brother, who's an equestrian, and they were taking horses from South Carolina to New York, and somehow the horses bucked, and the truck lost control. It went over an embankment. She was thrown out of the car. And, oh my God, When I get to North Carolina, she's lying in her hospital bed. Her face has been ripped off. All of her ribs broken. Her lungs collapsed. She can barely breathe. I take a leave of absence from school and I go stay with her for 5 months as she recovers in the hospital. I'm with her the very first time she sits up. I'm with her when she takes her first steps I'm with her when she looks at herself in the mirror for the first time. Is that me? I look like Dead-Eye Dick. I'm with her day after day, week after week, as she recovers. One time she says to me, Vicki, I feel like as you've been here, as I've been getting better for so long, it feels like we've switched roles. It feels like you're the mother now, and I'm the daughter. Yeah. My name is Vicki. I'm Grace Delajoyo's mother. In my dream, the waves are crashing against our legs and my mother can barely keep her balance. I got you, Mama. Come on, you can do this. Just take one more step. One more. Mom, you're doing great. Just take one more step. One more step. Step, Vicki. I'll just take one more step. I watch with some awe as she gets better and better and better, ready to move back into her own life. She lets go of her identity of beauty and embraces her identity of smarts. She says, you know, when your father and I were married, I always used to try to hide because he didn't like it when people saw me first. But now she's wearing colorful clothes. She's wearing wide-brimmed hats. She cuts her hair. She embraces the burgeoning women's movement. She opens up her own real estate office in her apartment in New York City as a solo entrepreneur. She begins to make alliances with all the different real estate agents in the city. She starts to change the culture of how buying and selling happens. She's proud of herself. She feels like she's making a difference. As for me, I get my degree in college and I move to California where I feel like I'm becoming more of myself too. I join a women's theater company. I begin to direct. I begin to perform. I come out as a lesbian. I tell my mother, oh, Vicki, don't worry. I'm sure it's probably just a phase. I wasn't worried. And it was no phase. On the final night or the final week of our theater company's run, I invite my mother to come for closing night. She flies in from New York. On that evening, right before the curtains open, we're all standing around in a circle, the whole cast, just sort of holding hands and talking. My mother is standing in the circle with us. As we stand, we're talking about this really worked in the show, and this is what we want to do in the future, and what are we going to do? And we start singing, filling up and spilling over. It's an endless waterfall, filling up and spilling over, overall. At the end of the evening, when we get back home, she comes up to me and she says, Vicki, I think I'm a lesbian. I mean, I couldn't really, physically, that's not, but I feel like a lesbian. All of my friends, all of my lesbian friends especially love her. They say, come on, Grace, let's go out to lunch. Hey, Grace, we're going to go to the movies and we can go to a party after. She feels seen. She feels celebrated for who she truly is. It's like she's really in her personality, in her sense of humor. She just feels like this is a community she loves. She does go back to New York, but many years later, she moves to California. I introduce her to the love of my life, Sherry. Yeah, I think I like her better than a lot of those women I used to go out with. Sherry and she begin to bond. Sometimes I feel a little awkward because they're both so unconditionally supportive of me. Sometimes I feel like if I were to say to my mother one day, hey Mom, I just killed somebody, she'd say, oh, well, what did they do to you? One time my brother in a fit of pique said, Mom thinks you're so special that when you walk across the lawn, all the blades of grass should stand up and sing Hosanna because you stepped on them. He wasn't wrong. But Sherry didn't seem to mind. She says, your mother and I have started a Vicki fan club. She's the president, and I'm the vice president. My mother starts to really love Sherry. She loves taking her around, introducing her to her friends. Have you met my daughter Outlaw? This is Sherry. Have you met my daughter Outlaw? My mother loves the idea of being an outlaw, of being different. She loves thinking about rebellion and expanding people's minds past the four walls of what they think is possible. We spend a lot of time together. We start going out to movies, we go to dinners, we start taking vacations together. It's just become more and more time with the three of us. I remember I guess it was about a week before she died. She was in her hospital bed while she was still conscious. I was standing on one side of the bed, she takes my hand. Sherry was on the other side of the bed, she takes her hand. How did I get so lucky to be in this group? And the truth is, we're the ones that felt lucky. We were a family, and it was so much love. About 4 years before she dies, back when she started or had that dementia that was developing, I feel like my mind is melting. I don't know how to control it. She finds out that same-sex marriage is now legal in the States. I want you and Sherry to get married before I die. Okay. So we start looking for a place. Oh, that one's too expensive. We don't have any budget. That one's not even wheelchair accessible. Then I realized we could get married in my mom's old folks' home. So we do. And the day of our wedding, we're going up and down the elevator. Sherry and I are taking care of little details and stuff, and we keep running into all these different people. Oh, this is your happy day. This is so good. Congratulations. I never thought I'd see a time when two women could get married. Good for you. We feel really blessed by all of these elders. It's an incredible sensation. Then it's time for our wedding, and the ceremony begins. All of our friends dance down the aisle. They're throwing confetti, they're laughing, they're cheering. My friend John, my mom's crush, wheels her down, and she is dancing in a wheelchair along with everybody else. Sherry and I dance down too. We go to the altar, and the officiant says, "Who gives Vicky away?" My mother says, "I do." "Who gives Sherry away?" Yeah. I do. I raised a different hand for each of them. Did you see? About 5 months before she dies, I get a call in the middle of the night. "Vicky, your mother has fallen. Aides have found her on the bed on the floor next to her bed, and they don't really know how long she was there and if anything's broken, so they've taken her to the emergency room. You better get there." I go to the emergency room thinking, this feels really familiar. When I get there, my mother is lying in the hospital bed. "Oh, Vicky. Hello, sweetheart. Oh, you're so beautiful. I love you. I'm sorry they had to wake you up in the middle of the night. They shouldn't have done that. You look tired and you need your sleep." She seems regular. She seems normal. But then they find out that there's been an x-ray that shows a twist in her colon. "Your mother is going to need to have surgery," the doctor says. No surgery," my mother answers. "Well, if she doesn't have surgery, this condition is terminal." "What are you talking to her for? I'm right here." And I said, "No surgery. I'm 93 years old. I've had a good life. I'm okay with this. I mean, if this is my time, so be it. I mean, I don't want any more suffering in my life. And surgery is suffering. I know about that. So no surgery." Luckily, I've had many conversations with my mom over the years, so I know what it is that I need to do to support her. I take her back to her senior residence, where she goes all the way up to the top floor, which is a hospital ward. She gets into the hospital bed there and begins to sleep and sleep and sleep. I go visit her every day. Oh, Vicky, hi. Oh, look at that smile. I love you so much. Where am I? What am I doing here? Well, Mom, what happened was you fell and they found in an x-ray that you had a twist in your colon, so the thing is they wanted to do some surgery. No surgery. Right, that's what you said. So what's happening, Mama, is, well, you're dying. Oh. Okay, well, I mean, I'm 93 years old. I've had such a full life, such amazing adventures, some with you. I feel like it's okay. I mean, what really matters is the time that we have now, right? Yeah. It's been a long life. It's been a full life. It's okay. I don't mind. Do you mind? We have this conversation every single time she wakes up, day after day, week after week. I have to pump myself up to tell this woman I've loved my whole life, Mama, what's happening is you're dying. It's like an end of life Groundhog Day. One day I go see her and she's awake. She's talking to someone or something I can't see. So you're the spirit of it's over. What you're telling me is this is coming to an end. This is over. I have to understand what that means. Oh, Vicky, when I die, I want to die laughing. Goes back to sleep. We have the same conversation again. What's happening, Mama, is you're dying. I'm starting to get a little worn out. The nurse comes into the room one day. She says, you know, Vicky, your mother is incredible. I mean, she hasn't had anything to eat or drink for weeks. People don't usually last that long, especially without water. Yeah, she's strong, your mom. She's really something. Yeah, she is. And I'm getting tired. I go to see a friend of mine who's a psychic and a coach. She tells me that she can see my mom standing over her own body, her spirit standing there trying to pull a cord out of her body so she can leave. That night, when I go visit her, I sit beside her bed as she sleeps. I go into a deep meditation. In my meditation, my mom is standing over her own body and she's pulling on a cord. Vicky, I can't get the cord to come out. You've got to help me. I go a little closer in my meditation and I see that this cord is attaching to her body. But at the bottom of the rope, there are all these little threads that are coming down, hundreds, maybe thousands of them. And each thread is connected to a different cell. And each one of these cells is connected to a different memory. Oh, look, she's making lasagna for Thanksgiving. Oh, I wonder if that's when she and my dad eloped. I don't know what that one is, but wow. Mom, I say in my meditation, look at the bottom of this rope. I think if you start pulling out these little threads one at a time, it'll be easier than trying to pull out the whole rope at once. She gets right to work. I sit in the meditation and watch as my mother lets go of her life. The next day, I am exhausted. I just feel like this has been going on my whole life. This is all my life looks like now. In fact, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be sitting here next to my mother's bedside, waiting for her to I say to my wife, honey, I can't do it anymore. I need a break. I need to go shopping. The phone rings. The nurse says, Vicky, your mother's breathing has changed. You better get here as soon as you can. I jump into my car. I I start to drive up onto the freeway where it's stop and go traffic. Come on, let me in. I have someplace, I need to get there. Now, I've told myself probably 100 times that every death is different. I've been there for a lot of people as they die, and I know people go in their own timing. So if she needs to go when I'm not there, then so be it. But still, I feel like I need to be there. I need to be there. I feel like I promised. Then I hear her voice, as clear as if she was calling me on the cell phone. Vicky, listen, stop. Just relax. Don't get in a car accident. Just take your time. I'll be here when you get here. When I get to the residence, I wait for that very slow elevator to come down, and then I'm on the elevator as it goes up very slowly to the top floor of the senior residence where the hospital ward is. I jump out and I see my mom in her bed, and she's it's like she's running a marathon. It's like she's got this destination. She needs to get there. It's like the Baumgold way. I start to pray, Mom, I love you. Thank you so much for everything, but it's okay to let go. I'm gonna miss you. Really, I'm so grateful, but really, if this is the time, you could just relax, let go. 15 minutes later, the corners of her mouth turn up in a smile, and she's gone. Did my mother die laughing? Okay, now it's been about 3 hours. I'm still waiting for the funeral director to come. She would not like it that he's late. I take my watch, her watch, out of my pocket. I look at it. I feel like as I look at it that I enter into a time out of time. Now, Vicky, if there's ever anything you need to do, you just set your mind to it and do it. I want people's minds to expand past the four walls of what they think is possible. I feel like I'm a lesbian. How did I get to be so lucky to be in this group? What matters is the time that we have now, right?
My sunshine,
In my dream,
my only sunshine.
my mother steps off the
You
rocks.
make me happy.
She lets go of my hand
when skies are gray.
and walks off into the distance.
You'll never know.
And me,
how
as I stand here looking at her watch, I feel the sensation in my heart that comes with the sound.